Live, checking connection. So we are officially live. Ooh, the incense is really coming across the screen. Hi. All right. Welcome to this week's Sunday's Spirituality Meets Politics. I am Stacy Harder with my mom, Dr. Heather Harder, and our amazing soul tribe and friends. If you'd like to join us, we are in Zoom. We do this every Sunday, pretty much every Sunday. On Zoom, if you'd like to join us live, you can. 831-755-38434. And that is the same Zoom we meet on with every Sunday. If you'd like to join in, feel free, because we do cut it short because of today's day and age. At this moment in time, we are being censored. And so because of that, we can't actually have a free open conversation. So we do that ish on Zoom. All right, with that being said, I'd like to Heather to come on over and take over.
Okay. And welcome on this Memorial Day weekend, this holiday, this Mercury retrograde time period, as we come together to experience whatever life gives us. When we say we meet every Sunday, in Egypt, there's a word, inshallah, which means God willing. And so you'd say, well, see you next Sunday, inshallah, meaning God wills, we'll see you next Sunday. And we've had quite a few bumps as of late. So if we're not on by about 6:15 or so, we probably aren't going to get on. We've had different things come up. I tried to type in the word inshallah on some messages and stuff, and my computer will not take the word inshallah. It just converts it to something else that's recognizable. So it's not a word I can print up for you, but we're here every week, inshallah. On Sunday nights, we have politics and spirituality conversation. On Thursday, it's just the spirituality. And as someone said this afternoon, that we are in active duty now. This is the time where we get about what we're about. So with that said, we're going to be discussing different applications of spirituality in the political world. So we hope you'll stay around for the conversation. We do have 3 parts to our evening. The first part is just calling in and asking for protection, for guidance, and for truth. And then we've added to that the trust in the truth, because as truth gets more outlandish, we have to have more trust in what we're getting. And with that truth, we have to also have the ability to discern truth, because we're getting bombarded with so much information and much of it is not truth. We're getting lots of false information, a lot of what people have coined fake news, whatever you want to call it. It really is important that we're always in a state of discernment. That's part 1, and you can call it in any way you want. Easiest is just to ask for divine protection, guidance, and truth, and the ability to trust the truth that we know is our truth. The second part is then we play with light. We're here as light workers. So in order to be a light worker, you have to work with the light. And light is energy. So we have some basic exercises we do with the light, then we do whatever else comes along for it. And so that's recorded, and it's on Stacy's Facebook channel, not Facebook, YouTube channel. So if you want to go back and listen to it or revisit some of the exercises we do each week, you're welcome to do that. And then we turn the cameras off and our conversation is private, just because of all the censorship and the craziness that's going on now. It's easier just to know that our conversation is just between friends. We don't have a topic per se. We just, what have you come up with? What's happened? How are you feeling? Because during this time, lots of strange things are happening, and being able to process those and have the comfort and the confidence to move through them is exceedingly important. So with that, unless there's any questions or comments, and we welcome all of you friends out there on internet, on Instagram and YouTube. If you have comments, feel free to write them down. Stacy interprets them for us, and we move there. So is there anything anybody wants to say to begin with, Stace?
Not yet, but I also wanted to say happy Memorial Day weekend, because this is a very weekend that we get to celebrate all of the men and women who never made it home, and thank the people who did get to make it home for all the service that they have given us since the establishment of our own country. So I'd like to just put a little special thank out, or my brain's a little tired, a little thank you and honoring out to them, and blessing, and just, we owe a lot to our service men and women.
And we think of that as military service, but it really is much bigger than that, because especially during this time, we have people who are standing up for the truth in their medical fields, in the various realms, and they too lose their life in service to a cause. And so we want to honor not just the military people who have served, but all the people who serve a greater truth, a greater agenda, a greater help from every realm. And so whether you're in active duty now, as many of the light workers are, or have served in light and active duty in times past, we thank you.
That's a good point, because there is a lot of that going on. And I do ask, if you're watching, to hold the light, to hold the love, to ask for divine guidance and trust, because I really feel this upcoming month is such a big one. I think that we're going to see a lot.
And as the agenda gets pushed further and further along, not only will we get more information, we'll get more misinformation. And so being able to feel what that truth is exceedingly important. People that you think, oh, they're just telling us the truth, may not be telling you the truth. And people you think are pulling your leg may not be pulling your leg. So you can't go on past history. You have to be ever present in the moment. And is this truth? Does this serve me? Does it serve the planet? And we'll talk a little bit about how to recognize that and how to identify that, because basically, if anybody's pushing fear, they're not serving you. They're really working at control issues. So be mindful of if they're pushing fear or if they're pushing empowerment. We're all being asked to step into our greatness. We're all much more than just this little human being that we have been programmed to be. And so beginning to trust the greater skill sets that we have is exceedingly important. There's a reason why we're all drawn to those Captain Americas and those heroic superheroes. It's because inside we know that we have aspects of that, and it's time that we begin to identify and call them forth. Thank you, Jennifer. And so with that, let's go play in the light. And we do that first by recognizing that you are the light. You are part of the divine oneness of all creation, and recognizing that allows you to call that forth, to use that power. You have to own your greatness in order to live your greatness. So if you will, just imagine yourself as that light and love, a spiritual being who's taken on a body, who's taken on a mind. You're not your mind, you're not your body. You're so much more. And then I would like you to imagine going to center. Center is sort of the hub of where you're connected to all your divinity. It's an imaginary place. It's I call it your happy place. But when you're in center, you are most aligned with all of your skills, abilities, and greatness. So if you can imagine your center, I like to imagine it looking like a beach because I'm real fond of beaches, but you can have it look like anything. Just go to center and imagine a pillar of light and step into this pillar of light. You are light. You are connected to all that is through that energetic bond. You are here to anchor the heavenly energies to the earth. And so just imagine those energies coming down from the ethers to you, through you, into the planet. And then just imagine that you have the controls and you're going to turn up your power and let the light and love grow bigger and bolder. Light, love, God all carry the same vibration. You can use any term for it, but it's extremely high vibration. Anything of a lower density cannot penetrate it, cannot affect it. So the more you move into light and love, the more you are non-accessible to these lower energies. So just turn your light and love up to maximum, and then imagine you becoming one with all those who are of like mind. And then I would like you to imagine turning that light and love up even more and sending it into the planet. Every cell, every atom, every molecule in, on, and around this planet is filled with this love and light that we are. Every space, every vacancy, every tunnel, every void is filled with light and love. And then we send this light and love out into the atmosphere, surrounding this planet with light and love. You are all powerful. And when you send this love and light out into the atmosphere, you're literally surrounding this earth with a very high vibrational shield. And then imagine sending this light and love out into the weather patterns. The weather patterns are how the earth finds her balance. They're very important. The more extreme the weather, the more you can be assured that those areas are out of balance. So love them back into harmony. And then on this planet, there are beings who are working their personal agenda, who want to control and manipulate, dominate and destroy our planet and all aspects of our planet. And so I would like you just to imagine loving them. Everything is of the divine, those of the light, as well as those of the lesser lights. And our job is to love them. All things are created by the Creator Source. We talk about white hats and black hats, and we give them all kinds of names, but they're just beings who are not letting their light shine as brightly. And they are our divine family as well. And our job is just to love them. Everybody on earth is having an experience. It's a time of great, profound experiences. And our job is just to love all the players. Imagine the collective consciousness. Everyone who's ever been on this planet, who are on this planet, whoever will be on this planet, have made an imprint into the collective consciousness, the oneness. Every thought, action, word is part of this collective consciousness. And the more we love it, the more we influence it. So just love it. Not for an outcome, that's manipulation, but just to love it. And know this love is what ties all humanity together. And that's where we're going on this planet, from a planet of third dimensional individuality to a planet of fifth dimensional oneness. And love is what unifies us all. So just love them. No matter what they do, what they say, just love them. And then I would like you to imagine all the leaders, especially the political leaders on this planet, whether elected, appointed, or self-chosen. Love them. Those who seek office, the candidates who will be coming aboard, love them. Those who've been in political office for a very long time, love them. The most powerful thing you can do is just to love them. Imagine the business leaders, the medical leaders, the organizational leaders, all the media influencers, whether broadcast or print or electronic. Just love all those that are sending out messages and love their message. Imagine their messages being surrounded with light and love. Imagine them as they speak, speaking forth light and love. There are those behind the scene, behind the scene, behind the scene, behind the scene, that you don't even know who they are. But love them. They're the ones pulling the strings, orchestrating, manipulating, and your job is to love them. There'll be one who'll become known as the man who is he'll become known as the man who is the Antichrist. It's important not to call him the Antichrist because that empowers him, but only as the man who will become known as the Antichrist. Just imagine loving him. Love him. There are those on the planet who are controlling and manipulating others. There are those who are being controlled and manipulated. Love them all. Love them all. There are those who come into this planet to be sacrificed for a greater cause. Love them. There are those who have come into this planet at different time periods to work for freedom, for justice, for sovereignty of humanity, both in this country and other countries. Right now, imagine loving them and the great sacrifices they made for us. Just love them. There are things being created, both people and other kinds of stuff that's being created intentionally to harm humanity. We're just going to love them. There are people who are not people, but who are creations, artificial creations. Love them. The more you love them, the more you'll be able to identify who is authentic and who is not. Love them. There are those who are of this planet, and there are those who are not of this planet. Your job is to love them all. Just love them. We're going to give permission to the angels to use this love and light that we have created and been using in any way that serves this planet and its people. Like a healing salve that's rubbed on and magically cures whatever it touches. I'm just going to let the angels use this energy in any way that serves this planet and its people. And then we're going to ask this energy to come back into our bodies, into our minds, into our souls, into our totality, and heal and seal any leaks, any damages, any impairments that does not serve us. To neutralize anything that's been put in our body that does not serve us. And to empower anything that does. We ask this magical energy to restore our DNA to its original greatness, its original form. So we have all the abilities, the gifts, the knowledge, the wisdom that we're intended to have. And any manipulation or alterations that's happened to us over the years is simply erased. So our connection with the divine becomes greater, stronger, clearer. And then we open up our hearts and our souls just to receive this energy. Universal law says whatever we send out must come home. We must experience what it is that we send out. So open yourself to receive this energy. Receive this empowerment. Receive this wisdom. Receive this knowledge. Just allow it to transform you, to cause you to grow and become more confident of who you are and what you can achieve. Feel how you feel when you're in perfect alignment. Take a deep breath and anchor this energy. Just feel how it feels as it permeates every cell, awakening the memories of who you are, awakening the knowledge of what you can achieve, awakening the awareness of why you're here, awakening the confidence required to live in your greatness in a world that wants to convince you that you are just a human, you are just a mediocre being. And in truth, you're so much more. Let's take a deep breath. Let it vibrate through your existence. Take a deep breath. Let it vibrate through your existence. Take a deep, deep breath and let it vibrate through your existence. Sending this energy out to anyone and everyone who needs it, who wants it, who is willing to receive it. Everyone who serves this planet and everyone who tries to interfere with this planet. We just love them all. And when you're ready, just open your eyes to the here and now. Open your eyes to the greatness of who you are. Opening your eyes to the truth that is all around you. So, Stacy Elizabeth, anything from online that you want to share? Anybody have anything?
Kevin said, thank you, with a big heart and prayer hands. And then May 1st says, hi, love. And that's all the comments at this moment. But again, there is a delay. So.
Okay.
I keep hearing fireworks going off.
Any excuse. Okay.
Welcome
So anybody
to
else?
Indiana.
Yeah.
That was beautiful. And I love at the end, we just sit for a minute and there's this new stillness, like that just happens. Like we're just sitting, we're just bathing in this. It's hard to explain, but it feels wonderful.
Well, the peace that passes understanding is the stillness. We need to spend more time in stillness in our lives, because that's really when we are most in connection. But I'm glad you appreciate the stillness.
I think the birds like it too. I hear them.
And that's your hot chocolate, Jen C.
I put my hand over it while we were doing that, so I sent it.
You're drinking hot cocoa?
Yeah, it's a cacao powder, and the underlying base is herbal tea instead of just plain water. So it's an herbal tea cacao mix. It's really yummy.
Nice.
It looks yummy.
Kevin said, and yes, that was absolutely beautiful with the heart and a shooting star.
Well, people are always saying, what can I do to make a difference? And during this political turmoil, that's the thing you can do most to make a difference. Just keep sending love. Anytime someone simulates an emotion, positive or negative, send them love. And the more love you send, that's when you're actively doing your job, because it's what we're here for. We're here to resonate the vibration that will cause people to raise their consciousness. Consciousness is what gives us our perspective on how we handle life. So a higher consciousness, we're going to be kinder, gentler. We're going to not harm or hurt others. We're not going to be manipulative or be greedy. And so the more we raise that consciousness, the more we improve the status of the planet. The more we move back into that emotion of, oh my God, how awful they are, and they've done this and they've done that, and in the judgments, then we literally suppress that energy. So politically, the most powerful thing you can do is send everyone love and light every day. And not even every day, every time you're aware of it. I mean, can you imagine Nancy Pelosi and how much hate she gets? So we have to send her the love to balance that out. And that's why the Bible talks about love your enemy. Whatever, I don't see, as Will Rogers says, no man is your friend, no man is your enemy, but every man is your teacher. And so these people who are stimulating these emotions within us are our teachers. How you respond to them determines your character and your experience. Because the more you get angry and you la la la, the more you get that back at you, and you attract that vibrational existence. So the more you can rise above and love and light them, the more you bring that into your world. And it's easier to love the starving kids in China than it is to love your crabby neighbor who's irritating you. So love them, love them, love them, love them, love them. Anything else online, Stacey Elizabeth?
That they agree. I've been wishing everyone the best of luck this year.
Well, it's your destiny. You're here to fulfill your destiny. You're here to experience whatever it is you've chosen to experience. It's all divinely perfect.
Doesn't always feel divine.
Well, in every situation, we can choose how we react. We can't choose the circumstances always, but we can choose how we react to the circumstances.
Kevin's asking if you're familiar, or any of you guys familiar with numerology. Not so.
Yes.
I know things add up, but I don't really know much about it. What do you know?
I'm familiar with it. I haven't studied it. I just, you're exposed to different things over time. I know that ones are new beginnings and nines are completions, and eights are abundance. And, so I know the basics.
And changes.
Hmm?
I said I think fives are big shifts and transitions. I think we're kind of in a 5 right now, actually.
Ask Kevin why he's asking. Or Kevin, why are you asking?
Yeah, I'm like, you gotta already ask that question. I was up to wait for him to respond. And hello, Miss Jessica.
Well, that's funny because I sent that thing this morning on the gematria, and that's all based on numbers. So it's funny that he asked that question.
Interesting. We'll see what his answer is. I don't know if you've heard of Danielle Page, but she has an astrology class that I signed up for. And I'm kind of blown away with just week 1 of like, wow. But she calls it what is it? Your soul interpretation through the stars or something like that. It's quite fascinating. Okay, so he says, correct, because my life path number is big reason I'm drawn to this information.
What's his life path number?
Well, I'll let him answer it. But it is kind of fascinating to start to, it's like the universe has always been there with all the answers. It's just like when you're ready for it, it'll come in whatever way you need it to. It's there, and there's a reason, there's a way. It can go hand in hand with astrology. What's your life path number, Kevin? Yeah. And I think astrology is also another way just to tap into the divine, the heavens,
and see, I see is the numerology and the astrology giving, and the universe doesn't give you answers, it gives you opportunities. Mm-hmm. There's, we are programmed to think there's a right and a wrong, that this is correct and this is incorrect. But in truth, there's just opportunities and options, and that we're here to experience as much as we can experience. And for me, and I don't study astrology, but astrology gives you opportunities. It sets in place certain obstacles, the sort of the downside of those signs, and then it gives you certain advantages, sort of skill sets from the positive side of your sign. And that your job on this planet is to overcome and minimize the negatives and really maximize and seize every opportunity from the pluses. And that once you've done that, you rise above your astrology sign. That it's very hard for people to select your astrology sign when you've maximized your negatives and minimize and maximized your positives and minimized your negatives. So many people use astrology as an excuse of why this is happening and why that's happening, but I don't see it that way at all.
I kind of feel like astrology in some ways, because we're so much affected by it, it's like the game of life, only we get put in a roller coaster and we just experience life as we know it, but it will take us up and down and around and sometimes backwards and sometimes up. Like, I feel like astrology is the ride of life, and it's the gift of the lessons and the flow, but it's like you don't necessarily you're not seeing it as such. It doesn't feel like you're, I mean, sometimes it feels like you're on a roller coaster, but it's that internal guidance of what you've signed up for, all those lessons that kind of put you in their soul growth. It's quite fascinating. He's a number 11, by the way, which is apparently one of the master numbers. And Josie put in here, she's 6 life path. He said, the more we study astrology, the more we realize that's what they use to go through life and to better understand each other. Yeah. There's a lot of truth in the stars and history in the stars and ancient civilizations. Yeah, a lot. I think, yeah, it's quite fascinating. Are we going to go private?
Well, are we done with all the comments? Anybody else want to ask or say anything?
I'll add more on numbers. How, like, I was brought up, you're not supposed to play with numbers. When you start getting into numbers, it's evil and you can go mad and like all these different things.
They used to say the same thing about masturbation.
And now,
so, what the heck?
And now finding out more about numbers and how, they were in the Bible, but then the Luciferians took the numbers and kind of made us feel, I think they're the ones that made us feel afraid to use the numbers because they were so powerful. They took that away.
Well, also many of them, the people within the church, the ministers and the priests and the rabbis and stuff. And again, it was another means to control. That if I can get you to believe what I believe, then I have that much more control over you. So I think each person has to search their heart. And there are people who do use those things in a negative way. So, I think that action is just an action. How you use it, the motivation for that action can determine whether it's evil or whether it's good. Good is God. Evil is that which goes against God. And so I think it can go in any direction depending on the person who's manipulating those numbers or using those numbers or astrology or whatever.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, John, because I feel like we have been programmed to not use astrology to be cuckoo, to not use numerology because you don't want to be wacko. Like, I think it's been programmed in us to not tap into that power source. So I think keep tapping into your own power source and defining your own source, whether you like it, you don't like it, whether it aligns with you. That is your gifts to tap into when you're ready. And Claudia's on. So hello, Claudia.
Because they're powerful.
Yeah. Well, and there's a lot of even people saying, again, find your own stuff, but even like the 666, it actually is really super powerful, but they intentionally took it and depowered it and made it to be negative so you would avoid it. So again, everything is available for truth. Everything is energy. You have to tap it in and find your own truth and find your own belief systems. And I think that's part of the most challenging times right now, is that we're really digging deep. If you have the courage to dig deep, the deep programming that's been put into us for so long. And a lot of people, it takes a lot of courage to see, oh my gosh, we've been lied to for so long. And I think that's, I was talking to a conversation with Mom a long time ago, and not a long time ago, I'd say with a year or so ago. My deep kind of avoidance with religion, like just the word God would make me uncomfortable. Churches would make me feel very uncomfortable. Like, And it wasn't till I started really getting into the whole Jesus and Mary Magdalene last year, it kept coming into my life. And so I was talking to her about it. And one of the things she's talking about is some of us were kind of resent here to not get into those belief programming so you can make your own definition of what religion is and what church is. And I've always felt that way of like, there's certain rules of to religion that doesn't, just because you follow the rule doesn't make you a good person. It's how you treat everybody. It's how you go through your day. It's not whether you go to church on Sunday.
Well, I
It's
think that one mass murderer in Iowa or something, whether it was a deacon in this church. I mean, again, a lot of people use God and Jesus as a shield to cover up a lot of misdeeds. And so I think we have to always look beyond whatever words are being spoken to the actions that are being taken.
yeah. Well, and I think that it's nice to now have my own definition on the story of Jesus, because I was 12 years old. I went to a church camp with my friends, and my first question in the Bible study class was, how do you know the Bible is real? Like, you talk about this book, and how do you know it's just not made up stories? Come to find out now, it really was stories from a couple hundred years being retold. So for me, I've always kind of, I think, been in that questioning of what feels right, what feels not right. And so I think also a lot of us feminines, especially, are really opening into the deep feminine wounds and Mary Magdalene and the truth and the reality of her power was just as strong as Jesus, but being suppressed, and learning how to kind of redefine all that. And I think see that story in its wholeness for the first time in thousands of years is quite powerful.
I think we're redefining what power is, because for so long we considered power something as a force that we could overpower something or someone. That was what power was. And now as we recognize that it's a whole nother internal process, has nothing to do with an outside action. And so many of things on the planet are being redefined.
Yeah.
Mm.
So, woohoo, to getting our power back and to
Yeah. And where was Jesus from 13 to age like 33? Like, they don't tell you the truth of where.
Read the Urantia book; they tell you. And
Yeah.
then Elizabeth Clare Prophet has written a book called The Lost Years of Jesus, and so a lot of people who have told the story of where Jesus was is just not in the Bible.
What is your story? I mean, because I hear, and I love what I hear, but I'm just wondering.
I think he traveled extensively. He had an uncle that was a merchant that traveled the world buying and selling and various things. And I think Jesus went on his own little roundabout around the planet, learning from the different religions and experiencing the different significance of the action. Because in his teaching, he only taught 3 years before he was crucified, but you see a lot of influence from the various religions in that. So I think he gathered information, experience from lots of different sources.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, what I heard was that he was studying in over in, is it Asia, like, and studying the Buddhist and meditating and.
Well, again, he went to at least one trip to England, and had experiences there. I think he just traveled the world with, I want to say Armelius, but anyway, his uncle, who was a merchant.
But I
So
feel like he also spent a lot of time in India. Yeah.
Doing the ascension and like there's a Buddha Christ consciousness.
Well, and there's a lot of overlap. If you look at what the core of all the religions are, there are a lot of overlap. We tend to focus on the differences, but there's much more similarities than differences. But in order to make my God bigger than your God, I got to focus on what my God can do. It's just basic marketing that we do now. You've got to make your product stand out and how it's different than everybody else's product, in order to be heard over the noise of the market, sort of the marketing spiel they give. And it's the same with religions. They had to make their religion be different than everybody else's religion. So, there's Christians that play with rattlesnakes because they believe that God can keep them healthy from snake bites. And there's religions that beat themselves because they think that if you love God, you're going to beat yourself to show how much you love God. I mean, so they've just evolved into 8,000 different ways of showing their loyalty and their manifestation of the religion. I mean, for so many years with the Catholics, if you love God, if you kept the faith, you didn't eat meat on Friday. And then one day they said, okay, never mind, you can eat meat on Friday. It's just arbitrary stuff that somebody makes up for some reason or other. But it's all geared to control and domination and tithing. If you're faithful, you're going to tithe 10% of your goods and chattel to our coffers. So, again, love them. They're all playing out, and some of them are very sincere and others not so sincere.
And division amongst us.
Separation. Mm-hmm.
Kevin was also recommending the Lost Book of Enoch from the Bible. It says it has tons of answers that we're looking for. I haven't read it. Have you?
I have it, but I haven't read it.
You have it?
The writing in it is so tiny and light, and it's so big. If it's the same version of it, that I need to order a different.
I'm sure you can go online at YouTube and look at the audio, and someone's reading it out loud.
I would love that.
Somebody's reading it.
That's how I felt with the Bible. I've never been drawn to read it personally. There's moments where it's like, oh, cool. And then I'm like, oh, it's just, but I feel like the Bible to me has so much truth. But again, I feel it was altered to take out and twist the truth. So it still has a lot of truth in it. But to me, it doesn't feel like it holds the true truth. It holds the truth in a way that makes you conformative and out of your own personal power. Personally.
I'm getting Bible verses per day, and I like that. So it's just a couple of sentences, and I can read it and reflect. Either it resonates with me, maybe it doesn't, but
yeah.
One of my favorite versions, and I have probably 15 different versions of the Bible because there's all kinds of interpretations and processes, but it's called the Jefferson Bible. And Thomas Jefferson literally went through and cut out the passages in the Bible. And this is when books were really special, and Jefferson really valued books, that he cut out the passages that he believed in, that he felt were truth, and put them in his own little journal. And he would read through that every day. Well, about maybe 10 years ago, they published what's called the Jefferson Bible, and it's just the passages that Jefferson valued, and it's very profound. It cuts out all the stuff, and it's just, in my opinion, pure truth. So,
well, and it's a language that we're not used to using. So I like hearing mom stories of the different things going on, because then it's like, oh, I can understand that way. So I think sometimes it's fun to hear that interpretation as well. Because some of the things I would have never gotten that from that. It's like Shakespeare, like "Wherefore art thou, Romeo?" I always was like, "Where's Romeo?" And it's why it's all about his name. It has nothing "Wherefore art thou, Romeo?" It's all about your name. Like, why is your name Romeo? But it's not saying that. Like, it's an interpretation of the words from back in the day too.
Well, and that's one of the things you've got to be careful with, because when anyone's telling you the story, a la minister or anyone else, they're always having to interpret it. So you're getting their spin on that truth. And that's okay. Just recognize that there's always a bias built into it.
Well, and that's, I think, why I've always been hesitant to take in the Bible, because I've always felt that it's not it's always been altered to me. And it's altered from religious purposes to, get your 20%, 10 to 20% of your income, and live tax free and live.
Tithing is 10%.
Well, some religions, I think it's 20%.
Not the tithing.
Isn't Catholic 20%?
I think it's 10.
Oh, well, even so, it's very much designed to say, give me your money and follow my rules. And I think there's definitely some incredible people out there that don't come from that place of stuff. But if you look at the Vatican, they own how much money?
This is still a public conversation, so I would watch those words.
Yeah. I have another question that doesn't have to be public.
Okay.
That can be public.
Okay.
So I was listening to Juan O'Sabin, and he mentioned that heaven is a mother spaceship. And
Yes.
I actually kind of like that. And I told my brother that, and he said my uncle used to say that when we were younger all the time, that the mother, ship would come down and, save us, and we would go away in the mother ship. And that's heaven. When we die, that's where we go back to, our ship.
Well, and that sounds very much like there's a physical presence to that. Heaven is a concept to me. Whatever you think heaven is, when you die, your thoughts become reality immediately. So if you believe that heaven is a mothership and you're going to go back to the mothership, you will. If you think, my ex-husband, when he was dying, he loved cars. And so I had conversation with him about where would he like to go when he dies? What's his most beautiful, loving, powerful place for him? And it was an auto show. And so literally when he was dying, he was talking about seeing this 57 Chevy and seeing these cars, because that was the mindset that he had. So it really is important that you program yourself for some belief for heaven. Otherwise, you're just sort of out there wondering what's going on, and you create chaos and crazies for yourself. But heaven is whatever you choose to make it. And if this can be heaven, life on earth can be heaven or it can be hell, whatever you choose to make it. Life after this body, when we lay our body down, will be our thoughts made manifest. So what are your thoughts?
Well, I guess that all depends on what you think life really is.
Exactly. It's the mental construct that you create. And for some, again, I've seen people who are so into the alien UFO that that's their mental concept. But when you die, you're giving up your physical body, you're giving up your physicality, so your thoughts become manifest much quicker. So whatever you think it is, if you move into an alien body and a spaceship, you can have 4 or 5 things going on, not 4 or 5, 40 or 50. We're not limited in any capacity, but we are right now, many of us, working on those spaceships or working in those space stations. But because of our consciousness, it keeps us from being aware of it. Once you begin to open your consciousness, you can literally experience all the different lives you're experiencing in the moment. Don't have to be separate from them if we allow ourselves to grow. When I was doing the workshops on remote viewing, that's part of that untethering the mind from the here and now. It allows us to go different places and different spaces outside the physical body. And you can be on ship right now. You can be in a space station right now. You can be spying in the White House right now.
So to me, a lot of part of our exhaustion, especially I think this last week, I feel like we are being so much aspects of who we are kind of out there doing the more important work, I would say. So, do you feel that that's true sometimes when we're in those places of deep exhaustion, like we're being called to have more energy in other places to
I think it can be one reason. It also can be that there's lots and lots of new, unusual energies hitting this planet, stirring things up and supporting this planet and tearing things down and stuff. And that our bodies are constantly having to acclimate to those new energies. And that can be very tiring. Um, if you can imagine, like if you're fighting a virus, if your body is getting sick, you get exhausted, and it's because your body is fighting this attack. Well, the same thing energetically as these things are going on. Your body is having to do this physical work at integrating these energies, and that can create a tiredness. So it's not a, I mean, this planet is so complex, so multi-layered, so diverse, where the no two grass blades on the entire planet are the same. No two fingerprints on the entire planet are the same. No two hair shafts are the same. No two snowflakes are the same. I mean, it's a planet of diversity where nothing is the same. So we don't have a one size fits all explanation. We just have to be in touch with our own truth and live according to our own truth. Because you being tired may be from depression. Someone else being tired may be because their body's sick. Someone else being tired may be because they've been doing earth evacuation drills all night. It's not a one size fits all. And we keep wanting to find that one size fits all explanation for an incredibly complex process. And gonna have, well, we could make it up. And there are many people who say, this is the reason. And we go, oh, yay, we have the reason. But it's not accurate for everyone.
I hear ascension symptoms is the most common reason.
Yeah. Well, ascension is the big buzzword for now. The awakening, the ascension. So be it. It's the current bandwagon.
Okay, so question. If someone has giving the lesser lights permission to kind of basically rule them, so they're technically the lesser light entity is within a human, right? And the human is now deceased. The energy slash, I'm trying to be PC because we're still on YouTube and Instagram. Can that spirit slash energy that has been in that human experience now come out and do things, or?
Well, again, I don't know what the hell you're talking about because you're being too PC. So you're very clouded. But we oftentimes, and I'll use the example of addictions. If people are addicted to things, like cigarettes or drinking or whatever, someone else who's died with that addiction doesn't just go away and go, I'm healed. They have to find a way of partaking of their addiction. So that disembodied spirit can take residence within a drinker or smoker or whatever. Then when that drinker or smoker dies, all those spiritual invaders have to find new people to attach themselves to in order to partake of their addiction. It's one of the reasons why the 12-step program is the most effective of all the addiction programs, is because it says that this problem is bigger than just you, that you need divine help. When you ask for divine help, the divine can take away all of its participating in your addiction through you without any obstacles. In order to, and I've heard people say, I want to smack them, but nonetheless, that they want ETs to come and take residence. They want to have someone be a walk-in. Well, you invite them in, and there's going to be somebody who comes and does it, but you may not enjoy the experience. A lot of people that we talk about are mentally ill or bipolar, have, sort of have guests within their body. They're invited, but sometimes not through conscious invitation. But when people say things like something is bothering me or something is eating me, that's an invitation for other engagements into their existence. So you have to be very careful with the words you use. But yes, you can get these involvements of a spiritual nature, just like you can get parasites from a physical, you can go into a creek and you can get parasites and stuff, and they take residence until you kick them out.
Okay, so I'm just going to use, for example, there is person A that has a reptilian dark influence over them, and person A loses their life. Boop, gone. What happens to the reptilian influence?
They find another food source. Reptilians feed off really negative energy or really chaotic energy. And so they will attach themselves to your etheric field, and then they tend to make your life more drama filled. So if that person loses their life, then they just go off and find another person to attach themselves to.
Is it an energetic force because it's a higher dimension than us?
I see it as like a leech. You can go into a river and get a leech on you. The leech doesn't kill you, but it attaches itself and it sucks your blood. And it's not really kind of cool to look at and say, oh, I got a leech in my hand. People usually creeped out. Well, the reptilians are invisible, but they attach to your etheric field. And then just like the mosquitoes shoot stuff into your body to break down the skin, so it's easier for them to feed off your body, your blood, when they're eating you. I mean, there's a process involved. Reptilians do the same thing. They attach to your energetic field because they like a certain kind of energy. They tend to influence you to become more erratic, more emotional, more drama filled, more crazy. They don't like calm, serene. And so as you're, as Jennifer was saying about the peace, it feels so peaceful. They don't like peaceful energy. So the more you live in that peace and then ask, that your energy be cleared and serene, they're going to go find a new host because they don't like that energy. They like it when you're nuts. So.
Yes. So on that note, I was listening to Dan Winters. I sent a link. So he was saying the same thing, that we need to keep building our aura, but of course he went into mad physics about it. But basically it breaks down to keep building on our aura through meditation, sending love, all that, so that the ghost or parasites don't attach themselves. And he was talking about the ETs and why all the ETs are so interested in Earth is because we have consciousness, and they want to figure out how do they create a consciousness. How does that sound to you?
First of all, I don't align with the concept of building your aura. Your aura is a natural outgrowth of your energy field, and it's just a color representation of everything that you are. As you know, when I do my spirit sprinkles, I connect to your energy. Your energy is everything. So I don't believe it to build it. I think it happens naturally as you evolve. I do think it's important when you're saying your prayers that you just surround yourself with love and light and ask that anything that doesn't serve you be removed. You can put, just like you put mosquito repellent on when you go into the woods, imagine a reptilian repellent that you spray on your aura field. Your imagination is powerful. So when you're doing these things, you're really making a difference. And so you can put a mirrored finish on your aura so that everything that is shined in is reflected back, and that only love comes through. So you can do all kinds of things. As far as them wanting to, you said understand or experience the consciousness. What was that statement that you made?
He's come here to figure out, yeah, how to make a consciousness, because
Well, this is my truth, and everybody has to discover and decide what their own truth is. I believe every living thing has consciousness, and not only living things, but stones, rocks, mountains, trees have consciousness. We're discovering more and more about consciousness all the day. I'd say, from my truth, all alien beings have consciousness. What they're trying to do, and there's, like, we broke them into two big groups. We got those that support the planet and its evolution, and those that are interfering with the conscious evolution of this planet. They don't want us to become a sovereign fifth dimensional planet. So we've got two big camps: those that support us, those that are trying to slow us down. Those that are trying to slow us down are not really wanting to understand our consciousness, but control and manipulate our consciousness. Our consciousness impacts us, and we collectively impact the consciousness of the planet. So when, well, in the 100 Monkey, where they taught the monkeys how to wash the sand off their sweet potatoes before they ate them. And when enough of those specific greasy monkeys were washing their food, that collective knowledge with just a handful spread throughout the entire species. Even monkeys that were on different islands and had no exposure to it, all of a sudden knew it. So if enough of the consciousness of a species buy into a belief or knowledge, then everyone has it. And that's really what's happening now. I mean, you look at Facebook and how many more people are putting up conscious growth spiritual messages than what was even 5 years ago. Well, there's a lot of interference that are trying to get humanity not to buy into this collective empowerment, so it doesn't spread throughout the species. And you don't need everybody, 10, 15, 20%. I don't know of an exact number, but it really doesn't take a lot to shift the consciousness of a planet. At one point in time, and I might get the date a little bit wrong, but it was, around 1875. There was nothing wrong with beating children. In fact, the neighbors complained about little Elizabeth Ann screaming and hollering because it was disturbing them, not because she was being beaten, but because it was disturbing their peace. Elizabeth Ann was this little girl, I think 10 or 11, who had been sort of in a foster parent situation. They weren't even her parents, but somebody who was caring for her, and they beat her so badly that the neighbors complained of the noise. They chained her to beds. They punctured her cheeks with scissors. And it was nothing illegal about it. There was nothing bad about it. It was just what was going on. One social worker was so bothered by this that she took Elizabeth Ann to court under the existing laws that were in effect, which was cruelty to animals. And she had to be taken in on a bed and a stretcher because she was so badly abused she couldn't walk. And she first proved that Elizabeth Ann was an animal and deserved at least the humane treatment of a dog. And that was our first child abuse case. Well, now, 100 years plus later, and we've got physical abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse, neglect. We have all these categories of abuse. And as a society, we go, this is wrong. This can't be. That's an example of the collective consciousness shifting in about 100 years. And we're shifting in so many ways. I mean, look how many vegetarians we have now versus 15, 20 years ago. Look how many more cruelty things that we look at. It used to be in the Roman times that young boys, 7, 10, were assigned to the Roman soldiers to learn about sex and be their little sex toys. It was accepted as normal. Now we say sexual abuse is not okay. And so as our consciousness shifts, we change reality and what's tolerated within our reality. That is the part that those that want to shift the evolution of the planet are trying to stop. They don't want it to shift. They like the crazy degradation, horrendous things that are going on. So they're stopping it. I don't believe it's because of consciousness. I believe it's because of manipulating consciousness. That's, my spin on it. And I like to think I'm always right. So there we go.
No, I believe what you were saying about the aura is what he believes too. And the ET consciousness, I should have said the AI ETs, the artificial intelligence.
Well, artificial intelligence is not that far away. We have a lot of that on the planet now. In fact, there's a movie, Total Recall. And Total Recall, again, it's never a movie I would have watched, but my spiritual friends told me to watch it because it was very much what was going on, what was truth on the planet. And interestingly, I've probably watched it about 3 times, and I cannot remember anything that's in that movie. So it's like my mind blocks it out as soon as I watch it. But it's, what's happening. But artificial intelligence is very much going on. The cloning, it's been going on for at least, well, I've been told about it for at least 30 years, 40 years. So yes, that's all happening. And the more you stay in that discerning, you'll be able to tell what's authentic and what's synthetic.
So yes, you have a question on that too.
Okay.
Well, something that you mentioned before, but one from Mexico says the internet is the mind for the AI. And I wanted you to mention, because you were told by your spirit friends too, that you needed to join the internet to change the energy of that. And then I think it was a question of, is that why the censorship on the internet could be the thing that turns AI against us?
Well, first of all, I was told that the internet was becoming sentient, which meant having its own consciousness, having its own process, and that I needed to make sure that my energy was in that sentient process. And I think that everybody needs to be aware. And I think being mindful of it will be its downfall. As it moves more into censorship, into control and manipulation, that's going to be what causes people to awaken and fight it. I just watched Matrix again, and had he was there to free people from this artificial reality, and he did that by becoming real and standing up to it, and getting out of the box. And so I think that's really what we're all doing now, is just being asked to be true to whatever our belief system is on a continuous basis. Anything else?
I said, I love it. So many levels. Well, and going back to the alien thing, aren't they all at least 4th dimensional or higher?
No, they're scattered throughout, just like humanity.
What's the lowest dimension?
Well, if we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1 is the lowest dimension. It's just a point of awareness. We might see it as a one-celled creation, but even in one cell that has other dimensions. But third dimension is where this planet started. Third dimension is that which is, it has size, shape, texture, dimensions. We see it individually, so that this bottle is different than this frame. And that's what third dimension does. It separates and defines as we move beyond third dimension into fourth and fifth, which this planet is headed toward fifth dimension. Then it's the oneness. It's no longer the separation, but the combination, the unity, the harmony, the working together. Okay, Jennifer, you're shaking your head, so make a comment.
All right, so we're in the matrix, like, but we wake up from it. But then from there, are
We have a choice of waking up from it.
Yes, the choice. But we're still in this assimilation. What are your feelings about
We have the opportunity to be in the simulation. And that's that's where you have to go back to, there's no good, there's no bad, there's no right, there's no wrong. It's just we each get to live our existence the way we choose.
You're breaking up. Is it freezing on anybody else or just me?
Live it out. So if you choose to go through, but anyway, we have the choice of being conscious and waking up and seeing that life isn't exactly the way we've been programmed to see it, or we have the ability to stay and live a monotonous, go to work, make a living, come home, take a nap kind of existence. It's our choice. And there's no right, there's no wrong.
Well, sometimes it feels like, well, we're just one huge experiment. And even though we're awakening, well, this half is supposed to, this isn't, let's test to see what happens if we do this. Like, are we just this experimental thing from the ship of we signed up for it, but here we are.
Well, the supposed to is where you're getting in trouble, because that implies there's a right behavior and a wrong behavior. And it is an experiment, except we're all in charge of our own experiment. What will happen if I take this job and move this place? Right now I'm in the middle of an experiment. I'm selling off the stuff in my house. I'm getting rid of stuff. And then I'm going to go to some place that I don't even know where I'm going yet. I don't even know how much money I'm going to have to go someplace yet. It's an experiment. It's an adventure, but it's an adventure that I'm creating and bringing on myself. I can choose to stay here and not get rid of anything, and then I have one experience, or I can get rid of everything and go someplace else and have a different experience. My choice. So your experience is your experiment. And you, as you know, you just moved. Alicia, before the call, was telling me about the things that are in process in her life. That's her experiment. Stacy's in the middle of an experiment.
Someone asked me the question, he's just awakening, up to everything. And he said, do you think we're in a simulation? And I said, well, I think we're in something. I don't know.
I said one time, I'm like, this is all just not messed up. This is so not real, but it feels real. I called it that we are a slave to our own consciousness, and that we think so real, but it's really, we're not actually, we're so much bigger just experiencing this. So it's hard to put that, I think, into words. But I've said before, I'm just a slave to my consciousness. Like, this isn't me. It's my consciousness doing it all.
And if you say you're a slave to your consciousness, you are, because that becomes your reality. So you really need to watch your words. You're not a slave to anything. You're part of your own experiment. It's one of the reasons why I find Egypt so powerful, because when you get into that Egyptian energy, it literally just expands your ability to conceive, and you conceive things that are so much more unreal, but they feel real in the moment. In order to create a new reality, we have to be able to first hold that thought of the new reality. Because everything starts with the intention, with the thought, with the action, with the word, etc. Um, I said at different times that I am being taught how to levitate, how to fly without a plane or whatever. And I was told to get a trampoline and jump on the trampoline to feel what it feels like to go up and feel like what it feels like to come down, but be able to isolate the thought of whether when you're not going up or coming down, but just when you're in that space of nothingness. That once I can hold that thought, I can then do it. You have to be able to have the thought first. And I have dreamed of teaching big auditoriums of people how to fly. And I truly believe that we can do this. What I get to is I can be on the ground and I can get up so that nothing is weighted on the ground, but I still have a slight contact with my toes to the ground. At this point, I've not been able to break that contact because of my thought system. I'm not yet been able to hold that thought so I'm without contact to the earth. I'm not weighted. I don't have any like weight on the earth. So I know that I'm getting closer, but it's the thought. What are your thoughts about your world? What are your thoughts about your ability? What are your thoughts about your consciousness? What are your thoughts about your emotions? You know, if you think you have no control over them or you think they're justified because of X, Y, and Z, they are. And you have none. So it's always a choice. In this experience, what is it I choose to react? How do I choose to behave? And it's that thought, that conscious knowledge, that conscious belief, that choice that we have that determines what you're going to do in that experience. And that's what we're doing. If we bring it back to politics, what we're doing with politics, rather than condemning these people who are showing us our corrupt political system, we love them because they're showing us our corrupt political system. That system didn't start yesterday or 4 years ago or even 14 years ago. It's been going on for a very long time. And now it's being shown to us. And if we can celebrate that and see it getting cleaned up and see it adjusting back to a harmony and to a healthy whole, it will. Because that's the power we have.
I've been getting the same message as you've been. Yes, it's just that it's time to push the gifts or the power a little bit more and just believe that it's there. It really truly is there. And I can remember when I was maybe in my teen years watching the movie the American Ninja. I don't know if you remember that. Like they could go through walls and jump and scale walls and like do everything. And I was always like, we can do that. But then you live life and you start doubting. And now it's coming saying, yes, yes, yes.
You drink the Kool-Aid.
Hmm.
And once you believe you're limited, you are. You drink the Kool-Aid. And that's why these calls are important, is they remind us that we are in charge of our lives and we can do and have and be anything if we choose it. But we have to have the confidence and the courage to take action and trusting our own inner guidance and our own knowledge. But I firmly believe that part of my moving to the trees in my new experimental home will be having retreats where people literally break through a lot of their limitations. I see that as part of the vision of it.
Yes. Crazy.
I know.
I know. Well, it came to me watching another movie and the people are like doing this and they're healing someone. And then, another girl like this and the lights coming out and not to judge any of the people who are coming at her scatter. And I'm like, we can do all that.
Well, go online on YouTube right now, and they're showing you people with extraordinary powers. They're there. They're real people. They're not Hollywood versions. But until you believe, it's okay to say, okay, they got this power. But when you believe you have that power, can you imagine what it was like for Jesus the first time he did a miracle? Turn the water into wine. It's like, well, what if this doesn't work? Oh my God, what if they laugh at me? I mean, he didn't have the doubts, and therefore there was no problem with it. We have the doubts because we've not been programmed for greatness. We've been programmed to fit in. As Kennedy said, conformity is the jailer of something, rather, I forget. But we have been taught to conform, and that doesn't serve any of us. Josie, I see you. I've watched a really good video on not reacting. What was the video? Do you know?
It was just basically not reacting. I don't remember the exact name of it, but I could probably find it, but for next time. It was really good though, just how if you don't react, then you're not going to get involved in that, chaos.
Well, you don't take it personally.
Right. Yeah, it was really good. I have to find out the name of it.
That's all right. It's like with the Total Recall. I've got the video. I've watched it 3 or 4 times. And I can't tell you a single thing it's about, even though my spirit friend said I need to watch it because there was a lot of truth in it. And I have, but I don't remember a thing that's in it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're good.
Okay. How come it takes some people an event before they open up to their power? Like, I know I just watched something by Suzanne Geisman. She was a commander in the Navy, and her stepdaughter got electrocuted by lightning. And then after that, she's I guess not a channeler, but she can talk to people on the other side. She, I don't know, got this one boy, his name is Wolf. And so she wrote a book about it, how he connected with her. But this guy, Wolf, he got electrocuted too by being struck by lightning. So I don't know, it was weird because he found her, and he was already on the other side. And it was weird because he was diagnosed as schizophrenic. And when he came to her, he told her that what was going on with his life was that he was in both worlds at the same time, the, physical world and spiritual world, and he could never get it to turn off. That's what was his schizophrenic, that's what was going on with him. But he's over there and he's giving her messages, and the story is really profound because it talks about, he gets struck by lightning and then this other girl gets struck by lightning, and how they were brought together with his family and everything, and she gave them messages. But before her stepdaughter passed away, she had none of these abilities.
Well, recognize that everybody has their triggers, and they program those triggers into their life. And so some people will have a near-death experience. They come back and they have all these awarenesses. Damien Brinkley was a person who went through several near-death experiences and then came back with all this knowledge and wisdom and connecting with the other side. And so we've all had set up whatever we need in order to be trusting. If they just wake up with it one Friday morning, they tend to think, oh, it's the devil. But if it's like a divine happening when they're, have this near-death experience, somehow it's more sacred or more special. And so it's just how they've arranged for their own experience, their own journey. There's no right or there's no wrong.
So it was just what she wrote.
it's what made her most comfortable with getting her story out for the people that she was meant to touch.
Oh, okay.
You know,
And this
so
boy, the wolf, he used to draw and paintings and all kind of stuff. And he has the message that he always kept showing like this web and over there, and then she kept seeing it, and he told her that like it's the web of our existence. We're all connected into this web, and it's just, it was so cool.
well, that's what I call the collective consciousness. But we're all connected. We're all one. We're all like drops in the ocean, and collectively we make the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
But it is what it is. Yes, Stacy.
So two things. One, welcome to Anna who joined us on Zoom.
Yay.
Yay. Okay, so Juan asked on that idea, kind of the Jennifer question from before, is I have this idea of what I am on another point in time. I need to realize it now so I can get there, question mark? Or so I guess the question is, to me, how I see that question, and correct me if I'm off, is we have a higher timeline. So how can we pull in our higher timeline or our...
See, I don't exactly know what you talk about when you're talking about your higher timeline. So those are not words I would use because I don't know what those mean. We have lots and lots of different existences going on simultaneously. Our awareness, our conscious only keeps us aware of what is important in this lifetime. We can be in a room with lots of things going on and we're only aware of what's going on to us unless someone calls our name across the room, and then we're looking to see what's happening over there because something has got our attention. As we learn to be free of our physical limitations, to expand our physicality, then we can be aware of what's going on in different experiences simultaneously. I've used the example as an onion where we have all these layers that are all going on simultaneously, and we can be like a worm crawling through all of them should we choose to. And so a lot of people are getting what I lovingly call bleed through. As we move beyond our conscious limitations of this physicality, we are becoming aware of different lifetimes, different experiences that may look like past life or future life, but they're all in the now. It's the now. Houdini put on quite a show by putting on a straitjacket. When he got really good at getting out of a straitjacket, he put himself in a straitjacket with chains. And when he got really good at getting out of that, he put himself in a straitjacket with chains in a trunk. And then when he got really fast at getting out of that, he put himself in a straitjacket, chains, trunk, and in a lump of water. And he would get really good at getting out of that. It was about breaking through the limitations. And that's kind of what we're doing now with humanity. We're breaking through our limitations. We're breaking through the limits of our physical body. We're breaking through the physical limit, the spiritual limitations of our totality. We're breaking through the conscious limitations. We're learning how to move beyond what's been the boundaries of the old. And that's really where our power comes. If I know I've developed the skills to walk a tightrope over Niagara Falls, and in this lifetime I'm asked to walk a tightrope over Niagara Falls, I'm going to be much more confident because I know I can do that from other experiences. And that's kind of what we're doing, is we're awakening all the different skill sets we've developed in over many, many lifetimes. And plus our divine nature allows us to be able to do, as Jesus said, anything that he does, anything that Jesus did, we can do these and greater still. We just have to believe it and begin to expand our current limitations. But Houdini just got into those limited places for the joy of getting out of it. And the first few times he did it probably was an experiment. Can I get out of this? Just like we're experimenting with new experiences and new opportunities. Alicia, you want to add anything or ask anything?
No, I'm just taking it all in.
Well, taking it back to the political sense, we are putting ourselves in these limited, dysfunctional political situations in order to recognize and break through, in order to recognize and end them. But we have to recognize them first.
I was thinking more on personal issues and taking it all in and comparing.
Well, anything that comes up, you just go back to Gen C's little cheer. You got this. You got this. You've developed all these skills and abilities. You got this. And if you can truly believe that you got this, you got this. It can't hold you back.
It gives me, I can't say a whole new, it gives me a different way of looking at some things.
And hopefully a different way of looking at yourself.
Yes. Definitely.
Cool.
Juan used the example, it's yes, but like art. It's in different points of awareness we can look at some pieces and see different perspectives. And as we expand, we get broader perspectives. Ha ha ha.
Absolutely. And it's also, I use it as an example, like climbing the tree. If you're on the ground and you're looking at the grass, you're seeing one image. But if you're in an airplane looking at the grass, you've got a completely different perspective. And as we keep doing different things and moving different places in our life, we see things from a different perspective. Josie, I see an electronic hand. Does that mean you want to say something?
Well, I think that was from before, but
okay.
I can say something.
Okay.
I know it seems like a lot of people now are coming out with like, well, I know we're all supposed to have our own unique way of, you know, healing or whatever, but a lot more people are coming out with different things, like with working with energies or working with light codes and, you know, stuff like that. So it's like, wow, every time I turn around, there's something new now. And I haven't checked out too much of that, but do you know anything about, like, I heard somebody say like there's 12 sacred keys, light keys for ascension. You know anything about that? I don't know. Yeah, I'm right. But yeah, right.
Okay, I'm going to come from my perspective. It's my truth. You got to sort it out for yourself.
Yeah.
But we have two different schools of thought. If we lumped all of the healers into two piles, one set of healers are healing because they're guided to and they're doing whatever they want to do. The other set of healers are healing because it's their business. In order to have, and again, as we go back to that marketing, I've got to make my business different than all the other businesses. I've got to make it stand out. So I can't just do the same thing everybody else does, which is energy is everywhere for everybody, and it's free, and nobody's broken. Nobody needs healing. We're all just part of that, exactly where we need to be, doing exactly what we need to be. But if I'm going to sell my book or sell my program or sell my class, make a living, I have to make my products, my book, my whatever seem more mystical. You know, so I'm going to have the 12 golden steps to ascension or the 3 golden arches to do whatever. And so a lot of the stuff coming out now are not necessarily coming out from spirit, because spirit is always simple, easy, prevalent. But they're coming out because they want to sell their book, or they want to create their class, or they want to create followers. Beware of the people who want to create followers.
Yeah. Okay. I gotcha. And then
So-
like the healing, like some people, like call in angels or invoke, the angels in or whatever, whoever they want to work with, archangels, angels, whatever. But is that just all for extra help?
I think
think,
it's,
or-
I think that's where your own discernments come in. I mean, calling in the angels can be very helpful to helping you. And so it can be a good practice. But if someone is saying, it doesn't work unless you do it this way in these 18
Okay.
steps, and you have to pay this class because otherwise you haven't invested your energy into this. And so there's those people who create the structure, and that unless you do it this way with this angel, with this process, it doesn't work. Those are the
Right.
people that I would be very concerned about.
Yeah, because it's
Because-
more like marketing or something.
Well, it's more like trying to sell their products. They want
Yeah.
to sell you, like I've told the story before, but I love the story. But there was a young man who was maybe mid-20s in one of my classes, and I believe in the easy breezy, no fuss spiritual evolution. If it's spirit, it's easy, it's natural, it's gonna happen.
Okay.
And this kid had studied every expert. He knew every piece of dogma. And there's just as much dogma in the spiritual world as there is in the traditional religion world. And he knew the 24 steps to do this and the 18 steps to do that. And he studied under this guru and that teacher. And he was very proud of his accolades and stuff. And I'm saying, well, you just do it. You just do it. You don't need to do all those things. And it was so frustrating to him that I was destroying his 18 steps to whatever, that he literally got up and left the workshop. He couldn't let it be easy.
Okay.
And so I would say be in that space. If it feels authentic and right, fine. But if they're telling you it only works if you do it this way, then I think I would find a new teacher because I don't buy that. There's 1,000 ways of skinning the cat. There's 1,000 different ways of finding your spiritual path, and you've got to trust your own inner way.
That makes sense. 1,000 ways.
And I have literally, even when I had the workshops and the bookstore, and I had all these teachers coming in teaching all these classes, I was told not to go to them because I was not meant to learn all these right ways of doing things, because I don't teach it. I just do whatever feels right in the moment. And I'm guided by my sources in the moment. And everybody will be guided in the moment if they allow themselves to be.
I like your statement, easy breezy cover girl.
Well, it's, the spiritual path when you connect with the divine is easy, natural.
Yay.
Yeah,
That's
it's cheap. It just happens. And with that,
Thank you.
I do things that I charge money for, and I'm very happy to do private sessions with people, and I charge without any embarrassment. We pay monthly charge for this Zoom process, and so we do take no donations. We appreciate your support financially to make these things happen, but I don't worry about if you don't pay me for my classes, if you don't pay for these things, then it's not going to work. Unless you follow my way, it's not going to work. It's just, not my truth.
Thank you. Thank you.
And
You're
one
welcome.
thing for Josie, because you seem to quote a lot of people and listen to a lot of people, are you in the practice of asking for discernment and
Oh
asking
yeah,
your angels?
definitely. From the moment I get up in the morning.
Because I've heard you say many times that you want to turn your stuff on. You want to turn your stuff on.
Well, yeah,
But
it's already there, but
My question for you is, do you ever, like when you want to go listen to a video, have you ever said, you know what, I'm going to take that time to go quiet and go inward and connect? Like, do you ever take that time to make yourself time to have that quietness for the connection inside of you?
yes, I've been trying to do 2 meditations every day now. And that is where, I get into the quiet, but I also have just started doing the, without any, music or talking or anything, just going quietly by myself.
Okay.
Which that is really
Yeah.
working out well.
Well, and that's really important, is just follow your heart. If you think you have to have a quiet, mystical room with soft candlelight and this and that, then, literally you're limited to that process.
Right.
So it is important to follow your heart and know that you can connect anytime and all the time. It's really
Exactly.
important.
That's what I like best about you, is that, and other people too, but like even through church, we just go in and connect, without 12 steps.
Yeah. And the one thing that I will also share with people is that it's really important that you find your own way. It can be a modification of something I've done. It can be a modification of somebody else has done. But if you're only following, for instance, and I'll use Reiki as an example, there are a lot of people who only do Reiki using certain procedures and certain symbols and stuff. Well, Reiki was developed or discovered or whatever thousands of years ago. The world has evolved. Everything about us has evolved. We have to let that evolve as well. So even if you're following a practice, feel comfortable to let that practice evolve in your hands, because we're all being asked to bring new information forth.
Okay.
And I also you're reminding me one of the things that I want to do, because Jennifer this morning on our little Facebook private message group brought up something about discerning and the source of information, and that's really important. If anybody who's either listening to us online or on our Zoom calls who want to be a part of that private thread, that you can Facebook friend Stacy, and she can add you to that group, and you have to Facebook friend me as well, or you can send your email and I'll put you on my email thread, or both. It's not an either or situation. So but I think that thread has been very helpful for disseminating information and giving people a chance to ask questions and make comments through the week. So a lot of information goes out that way.
Do you have a copy of your Dimensions and the Awakening of Divine Consciousness?
Yes.
Can you grab it?
Yes.
Mine's wrapped up in.
Just like for Reiki, they say, that you have to be attuned to tap into, that practice. So that's just their way.
When a lot of people want to charge you $3,000 for a class, for 4 classes, like
Yeah.
you have to follow. I
Outrageous.
mean, I learned Reiki as a teenager from the bookstore. There's a woman that came in. But again, follow your heart. Listen to things. But so Anna wrote in there about if a book on ascension. Like she was going to ask about a book on ascension. So can you show that book up, please? And then read the text.
Dimensions and the Awakening of Divine Consciousness. Understanding's Earth Journey from Third to Fifth Dimension. Written by my favorite author, me.
Yay.
And basically I wrote it because, we talk about ascension and to make it sound so cute, but there's a whole lot of unpleasant things and uncomfortable things that happen with it. And unless you recognize those are also a part of the ascension process or the awakening process, we tend to take a pill or an herb or whatever to try and stop it. For instance, losing memory is one of the side effects. As our mind learns to function in the now, we're losing our attachments to past and future. And so people are going, oh, I'm losing my memory. I must be getting old. No, it's kind of what happens when you're ascending. And so just recognizing the physical changes, the mental changes, as well as the consciousness changing that happens is really important.
And I
Not
do,
that there aren't other wonderful books. I just haven't read them all. I like mine.
well, and I think also The Many Were Called is really good for this time too, because it kind of gives us our pre-story, but also what we have to really move through, which is the fear, the judgments, the moving into that. There's a lot of powerful tools, I think, also that assist in your awakening journey. That's to me very principle based, like powerful.
Yeah.
I just finished that one that you just said. Many
Oh,
were called,
and
few were chosen. I
and
just finished that one. I like it. It's really good. Now I understand how Heather talks about, you know, why we're here and stuff, you know. I didn't ever understand that, and you know how she talks about like religion and stuff. And especially because, you know, I'm Catholic, and that opened my mind and my eyes a lot to who Jesus really was, you know. So
And
I
one
really
of
liked it.
when I wrote that book, again, 30 plus years ago, I was really concerned that it would cause a real stink. And at that time, I was a university professor. So I had a rabbi read it, a minister read it, a priest read it, and somebody else from a religious thing read it to see if there was any way that it conflicted with any of the major religions. And all of them said basically the same thing, that no, it doesn't contradict anything in their religion. It just takes it further. And the minister said, I can remember when we used to project into these animals and take on different forms. I remembered that. I thought I was crazy. So it does sort of help answers the questions. But if you really love me after you read one of my books, you'll go to Amazon and write a review, even if it's just one sentence, because apparently that's really important.
actually,
I will do that.
we really like 5-star reviews.
You can't ask for a 5-star review. You ask for an honest review.
You can
But
ask for an honest.
Ending review.
If you're willing to have 5 stars, that's a gift.
Okay.
Well, you get a
Ethically.
5-star from me anyway, so
Oh, good. We love that. Thank you very much.
But sometimes you have to be specific in what you're asking for. You don't want people just to review. You want amazing positive reviews. Wow.
Hey.
Look at my crystal just fell off.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? Any other? We ended up being public the entire conversation, which is kind of unusual.
Very unusual. We didn't go as deep as we usually do. But
We
I would say
didn't go
let's
into
get off and let's get deep.
controversial issues.
So
What?
I want to get off and then we can go deep for a quick minute. So love you all. Thank you for joining. We're going to go on Zoom now privately. So bless. Thank you for being here. Josie, we'll get you your question in just a minute. Happy Memorial Day. Thank you for all the souls and spirits.
Join us on Thursday.
Yeah. And thank you for all the souls and spirits that have stood up for truth, for justice, for this country, for these people, for the divine. So we honor you in all ways and thank you for your service and thank you for being here. And we love you. Send lots of love and light. And thanks for doing this together. Ow, ow. Okay. Bless. So I'm going to hang up on this end.
Ditto.
And then
Ditto. Ditto. Ditto.